Hi, I'm Pete, and welcome to Just a Few Acres Farm. Today I'm in the fields, in the shop, and in the garden. There's a chance of thunderstorms this afternoon, but right now the weather looks very nice. Look at this, Timothy heading out. It's getting to be that time of year. Over the last 24 hours, we've gotten 1.5 inches of rain. It makes it really too wet to get down the trench and work and lay pipe today, but one of the things I did right after it rained is I came out here to see if the trench was holding any water. In other words, does it slope? And it is not holding any water. It's got good slope. Huh. Where are those cattle? Oh, here they are, taking their mid-morning siesta. Hi, Patty. You crazy calves, lead the way. They decided they'd rather not lead the way. Gate number 2. Oh, what are you guys waiting for? There's grass that way. Let's see what we got down here. Is this tall enough? Yes, it is. Now just wait. Oh, you can go ahead. Come back. This is one of the fields that I made hay off of 4 or 5 weeks ago, and it's come back to about 8 inches tall, so it's time to put that back in the rotation. It also looks like after all this rain I need to recoat the cattle back rub. Knock down the flies. Look at those calves running around. There's about 30 head on the pasture now, including calves, and I found that with that number, I can take one field out at a time. So now that this field comes back in, I can start clipping the other field. It's just a question of priority. I got so much else to do these days. You know, I got to thinking about it. Clipping pastures is higher on my priority list than dinking around with the 856 in the shop. A dirty tractor significantly impairs mowing performance. There we go. This Farm All H is 84 years old. It's pretty amazing. Beep beep, watch out guys, coming through. Watch out steer that thinks he's a bull. Here we go. running this H. It's probably my favorite tractor to drive. Everything's so smooth, easy to steer, great sound. And the sickle bar mower just makes that snick, snick, snick much better than some roar of a big whatever mower. Huh, black caps are ready. Nature's treat. I have to adjust this spring which puts tension on the bar to raise it and lower it. It's backed off a little bit, so I got too much weight on the bar and it won't raise enough. Patty. There we go. Lots of folks have said over the years I need to build Hillary a pedestal to stand on, so I did. Good morning. I didn't finish mowing yesterday.
Why didn't you finish?
It was too windy. It was. Wind is a thing. I wanted to send up the drone so you guys could see an overhead view. We'll finish it today. Push button. There should be a key. A key is traditional. We have a couple essential errands for the farm to run this morning. First stop is the feed mill for broiler feed. Count 19.
There you go. Yeah.
One more. Then to the butcher to pick up beef. About 600 pounds of beef in the back seat and 3/4 ton of feed in the way back.
Rump roasts are in here.
Rump roast.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they look good.
Just an observation, consumer habits are weird. The best, most affordable kind of beef cut you can get is ground beef. Our ground beef is absolutely delicious and affordable at only $6.50 per pound. And for 100% grass-fed beef, that's a bargain. But we did something different this time. Instead of getting so much ground beef because of those strange consumer habits, we got things like top round steaks made, which are quite lean except for the fat on the edge. And of course, the usual ribeyes, well marbled. And rump roast, Dexter's make a nice rump roast that's not giant. These two steers dressed at about 425 pounds each, which I consider really good for 20-month-old Dexter. A far cry from the 330, 350 pound dress weights we were getting when we were packing them all together and doing mob grazing. We have never had rump roasts and top round steaks cut before. Normally they would be ground into ground beef, but we're running an overage. Like I said, consumer behavior is hard to make sense of sometimes because I'm going to charge more for those roasts than I would for the ground beef. Let's do some work in the garden and I'll talk a little bit about garden pests and diseases. Sunflowers. Get out of here, ye weeds. These are tall enough to pull the mulch back over and cover the soil. Same with the sweet corn. Have I mentioned that I'm not a real big fan of sweet corn in the garden? I think I have. It takes up way too much space in sufficient quantity, which I don't have here, and it's a nutrient hog. On to pests and diseases in the garden, and I'm going to cover ones that we see which I think are pretty common. This is mustard, and the first pest is flea beetles. They make these little holes in the leaves. Flea beetles affect all kinds of greens: arugula, lettuce, cabbage, mustard. They're really just a nuisance. We just live with them. I don't mind if my salad has little holes in the leaves. We do wash it before we put it in a salad. The commercial growers at farmers market use row cover to keep the flea beetles out. It's that white kind of cottony fabric that lets light through, but the bugs can't get in. This is zucchini, and here's the second pest slash disease. This is powdery mildew on some of the leaves. Powdery mildew and their related varieties is a subject of wet weather, and we've certainly had a lot of that lately. We've only had one hot, dry spell, and the whole garden suffered because of the wet weather we've had. We have treated powdery mildew with, there's an organic spray, I forget what it was, copper or something like that. But then we stopped. And the plant does all right with it. It'll still yield fruit. It just slows it down a little bit. And except when you get extreme cases of super wet all summer long, then it's a big problem. The next pest is these little guys. Get off my cucumber. Those guys are cucumber beetles, and they are terrible. They do eat on the plant, but they also carry a virus that causes the stems to wilt, and we've had problems with them ever since we grew a lot of pumpkins here, and it was like ground central for cucumber beetles. In the past, we've treated by covering the cucumbers and the related plants in the cucurbit family, all the squash, with row cover when we plant them, and then as the plants grow up, they get more resistant because they've got more energy stored to resist the beetle. But cucumber beetles are nasty. We haven't had them nearly as bad in recent years as we used to 15 years ago when we grew a lot of pumpkins. I do not use insecticides in the garden to treat things like this. There's a little cucumber growing, so far it's all about insect load on the plant, and I think they're doing all right. If I wanted to go all out in treating these in an organic fashion, it would be with row cover again, except it would be row cover hoops covering them so that the squash beetles or the cucumber beetles have a hard time getting in. And then you have to open up the covers when the plants flower to pollinate the fruit. It's difficult, but it can be done. It is done all the time by commercial growers at the farmers market. I'm always pruning tomatoes with good reason. I'm pruning both suckers off that grow in the crotch of leaves, and I'm taking any dense leaves off. See this mass that I've got here toward the ground? They're all coming off. This is a tomato leaf that was close to the ground. See these spots on it? As I said, it's been wet. It doesn't benefit anything in the garden, really. And the big deal is early and late blight. 25 years ago when we grew gardens, we never pruned tomatoes. We just let them grow, and they were dense. Not now, because especially heirloom varieties will succumb to either early or late blight. As I've said multiple times, key is to prune them, to keep air flowing through them, keep the leaves as dry as possible. Prune the leaves up from the ground. Tomatoes only benefit from pruning. It makes them grow even more vigorously and put more energy to the fruit that they have. And leaves that I do prune off of them, they get taken away out of the garden because they could be infected. People will take various precautions, like bringing bleach out to dip their scissors in. I don't do that, but I do get rid of the leaves. Hillary and Ezra are picking strong arugula. And mustard. This is what I wind up with when I do a proper pruning of the tomatoes. There's a lot of foliage that was removed. Couple final pests. Woodchucks. We have had problems with them. They seem to want to take a bite out of every single squash in the garden. This fence is buried a foot deep. That keeps the woodchucks out. Rabbits. I deal with them with lead immunization when I see them, so we don't have problems with them. I did get woodchucks on my manure pile pumpkins, I think, and ate them. I planted them again, they got ate again. Woodchucks, birds, something or other. And I just said, we'll do those again next year. I need to build up probably a wire cage to go over them until they get going. The last pest is slugs, and I've never had any problems with slugs, so I really can't advise you there, but I know that they can be terrible. And finally, this is what we're doing with the peppers. This is a Carmen sweet pepper. They are delicious. We eat them like this. This is simply a brine that's 3 parts vinegar, 1 part water, tablespoon of kosher salt, half teaspoon of red pepper flakes. Heat the mixture up to boiling. Slice up the peppers, pack them in the jar, pour the boiling mixture over them, stick it in the refrigerator the next day. You have delicious pickled peppers that Peter eats. What does a clock do when it's hungry? Clock, it goes back 4 seconds. Biggest hill on our farm right here. Look at all the swallows. Phew. My favorite kind of bird, spunky little things, turn on a dime, and if there was a hawk overhead earlier, and they will harass the hawk till he goes away. They aren't afraid of anything. Boy, there's a whole bunch of them around here. There's gotta be 20 or 30. Oh, pay attention. 4 acres pasture clipped. Another good job done. Couple things to conclude this video. We're on Instagram. Please follow us on Instagram. We're not on Facebook. We're not on TikTok, although you'll find accounts that say Just a Few Acres Farm. They're not us. They're fake. Second announcement related to that. I love it when people come to see me at the farmer's market. I'm there on Saturdays most of the time. Some Saturdays I am not there, especially when we don't have a lot of stock. Last Saturday I didn't go because we didn't have chicken ready and we were waiting for beef to come back to the butcher. Now when I'm not going to be at farmer's market, I put that on Instagram, usually the Wednesday or Thursday before that Saturday's market. So if you want to find out whether I'll be at market, follow us on Instagram and check our posts. Again, I love to have visitors. I just don't want people to make a trip and not be able to see me at the market. I always feel bad about that. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Tomorrow I'm back to working on the drainage project. I'll see you next time.